everyone, welcome back to Sci-Fi Junkies. Today we're diving into The Electric State, a sci-fi film on Netflix directed by the Russo Brothers and starring Millie Bobby Brown. When it first came out, it was quite the buzz, but now that a few months have passed, is it still worth watching? Or just another title lost in the shuffle? Let's find out.
Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter.
The Electric State is adapted from the illustrated novel by Swedish artist Stålenhag, known for his retro-futuristic style. Everyday landscapes blended with massive machines and strange technology. The Russo Brothers took charge of the adaptation, supported by the same visual effects team that worked on Avengers. What's interesting is that the film isn't a one-to-one adaptation. The Russos made plenty of changes to make the story easier to digest as a blockbuster. The result? A film with a simpler tone compared to the original novel, which leaned heavily into surrealism and philosophy. With a budget of around $300 million, this is also one of Netflix's most expensive productions to date. The story takes place in an alternate version of 1994, where society has become addicted to a virtual reality technology called the Neurocaster. We follow Michelle, played by Millie Bobby Brown, a teenager grieving the loss of her brother. One day, a robot named Cosmo shows up, a cartoonish character with a mysterious link to her brother. Joined by a wanderer named Keats and a robot companion named Herman, Michelle sets out on a road trip across America in search of answers. At its core, it's a sci-fi road movie filled with symbols and hidden dangers. 1. Themes and messages. At its heart, the movie is about loss, alienation, and how humans relate to technology. It shows how tools meant to help us can quickly turn into weapons of control. There's also a layer about freedom, whether it's robots rebelling against servitude or humans losing their freedom by becoming dependent on machines. 2. Visual style. Visually, this is probably the film's strongest aspect. The robot designs, retro-futuristic landscapes, and overall color palette are clearly inspired by Stålenhag's artwork. There's a surreal vibe, but it still feels grounded. The CGI is smooth. Cosmo looks adorable, but also a little uncanny. And those road trip scenes across desolate American landscapes. Beautiful yet haunting, making you feel both lonely and in awe. If you're here for the world building and unique sci-fi aesthetics, the movie delivers. 3. Production process. This film had a long journey through multiple studios before landing with the Russo Brothers, and it became one of their most ambitious VFX projects to date. With hundreds of CG characters to design and animate, the team leaned heavily on advanced motion capture. Early on, they tested Kid Cosmo using a child actor in a mocap suit to make sure his movements felt natural, because at his core, Cosmo is supposed to move like a kid. On set, the motion capture was led by movement specialist Terry Notary and his troupe, who trained for weeks to create a unique band of misfit robots. Some voice actors even performed mocap themselves, so their interactions with Millie Bobby Brown felt more authentic. They combined cutting-edge Zen suits, sensor-based mocap that works on set, with traditional optical Vicon stage recaptures, allowing them to fine-tune performances afterward. Many robot designs came directly from Simon Stålenhag's illustrations, ensuring the world stayed faithful to its source. To tie it all together, composer Alan Silvestri delivered an orchestral score in the vein of his classics like Back to the Future, giving the film's visual effects an emotional and nostalgic grounding. 4. Theories and symbolism. 1. Cosmo, a symbol of innocence, a soul that remains pure in a corrupted world. 2. Neurocaster, a critique of modern tech addiction, much like how social media or VR can pull people away from reality. 3. Christopher, a tragic figure, trapped between life and death. His existence embodies how technology can strip away our humanity. 5. Hollywood interpretation versus Stålenhag's vision. Looking closer, The Electric State doesn't fully follow Simon Stålenhag's illustrated novel. What the film borrows is mostly the aesthetic and world-building, retro-futuristic towns, decaying giant machines, and that melancholic atmosphere. But the narrative takes a different path. Stålenhag's original novel reads more like a narrative art book than a traditional novel. Fragmented storytelling, surreal, leaving lots of gaps for readers to interpret. The larger conflict is rooted in America's Second Civil War and the collapse of the Centa Corporation. The focus isn't a robot uprising, but humanity's dependence on the Neurocaster, turning people into mindless slaves. On the other hand, the film version, reframed into a plot-driven, linear journey, Michelle's search for her brother. Main conflict switched to a robot rebellion against humanity. Tone is more dramatic, emotional, and blockbuster-friendly, designed to be easier for mainstream audiences to follow. In short, the movie uses Stålenhag's world as its canvas, but the painting on top is a distinctly Hollywood reinterpretation, simpler, more black and white, and closer to mainstream formula. 6. Audience reactions and critic response. On Rotten Tomatoes, the film scored very low, around 14%. Metacritic wasn't much better, sitting in the 30s. Many labeled it generic Netflix sci-fi. On Reddit, one user wrote, "The visuals are cool, but once the credits rolled, I forgot the story." But not everyone dismissed it. Some viewers found it underrated, saying its themes of loss and family can be touching if you're patient enough. Clearly, this is a polarizing film. Some enjoyed the world building, others left disappointed. Things that made me wonder. On rewatch, a few things really got me thinking. First, the VR concept. In Ready Player One, VR is a clear digital playground. Here, VR helmets are used to control robots in the real world. And the helmet designs, they look like giant ant heads. Unsettling, but maybe intentionally alien. Second, the discarded robots. Each had a purpose once, but why did they all rebel? Was the war triggered because they were tired of being treated like tools? The movie gives hints, but leaves a lingering sense of mystery. And finally, Christopher. His body is kept alive in a lab with life support, while his consciousness is projected through Cosmo. So is he alive but comatose? Or dead, with his mind forced to persist through technology? For me, this is the most tragic part of the film. He's neither truly alive, nor completely gone. In conclusion, The Electric State is a film with big production value, beautiful visuals, but a story that doesn't always land. If you're a fan of sci-fi aesthetics and Simon Stålenhag's art, it's worth a watch at least once. But if you're after a deeply emotional narrative, don't be surprised if it feels a bit hollow. So what do you think? Is The Electric State still worth watching, or better skipped? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you won't miss our next sci-fi deep dive. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!